And the more energy that a plant takes to, because this is really heavy clay soil, right? So these plants may be 8 years old, but if I was growing it on sand on Bribie Island, this plant could be 2 years old. Because the pressure to actually go through the heavy clay soil and the energy required for the root to pierce through is a lot higher, which means that the growth, the energy could use for new cell production and growth is less because it's using it for the root.
Yeah.
So this is why then establishing with a pioneering crop or something that has a root that can go down and puncture through the clay would mean then my crops afterwards that don't have the roots that can do this would establish faster and easier with, they'll get less disease and pests too because their nutrients wouldn't be all focused on getting through the clay.
Yep.
So this was really heavy clay. And so you get to a point where where tree roots and stuff just can't puncture through the compaction, right? You get to this pressure point. So if you have that, you've got to break that up. Right, so if you have a field that's like being all compacted, you've got to rip it up. And
So what are some pioneer plants you plant to soften it up?
yeah, so for tree systems and things like we're using ice cream bean, guavas, cassava, sweet potato, pigeon pea, cassia. So nitrogen fixes, fast-growing nitrogen fixes, bananas, and so anything with big leafy leaves on it, because that's lots of nitrogen going back that we're going to keep putting in. So anything that we can get a lot of vegetation for that doesn't require a lot of moisture or any care, that's going to be an ideal. Something that can handle getting chopped back hard and regrow. The things that you chop back hard and it just dies, not going to be suitable for a pioneering plant. Things that are flowering regularly to start bringing in the insects, these are all the things that we're going to be focusing on for pioneering plants. Yeah, fast growing, things that don't need a lot of TLC for the site. So if it is a site with lots of water on it, obviously your pioneering plants would be plants that want lots of water, right? If you're in an arid place, then there would be plants that want lots of those conditions. So the pioneering plants change depending on where you are. But I can show you, so one of our pioneering plants here, which we've let go on too far, but the cobbler's peg would be a pioneering plant here because we keep dropping it. So whatever's coming up on site can be used as the pioneering plant. The site will tell you what the pioneering plants are.
Okay.
Just don't mow it for a year and see what...
So the weeds are the...
Yeah.
Okay.
So the weeds, so weed is just a plant grown out of place. It means that as a company selling horticultural products, I can now develop a product that'll kill any plant, because any plant is technically a weed as long as if it's growing in the wrong place for a human, then it's a weed, and therefore I can develop a product to kill that plant. So it's a very commercial term, specifically used in horticulture. As ecologists, and so as natural farmers, we use successional plants. So we use pioneering plants. It just means they're plants that put more of their energy into top growth than it does into long-term root growth and nutrients. So pioneering plants generally put 80% of their energy and resource into seed, into top, which means it's perfect because as we go and drop mulch and prune it down, we're getting all that nutrients, that 80%, and putting it in. Long-term plants and perennial species that we work with, in that more of the end game, is putting 80% of nutrients into the soil and 20% up into the top.
Okay.
So they're fundamentally doing something different. A pioneering plant generally produces shitloads more seeds than what other plants is. So the pioneering plants are the successional plants. They're the in-between, going from a desert to a grassland. They're those species. So then from a grassland to a meadow, those species. Then from a meadow to a savanna or so, those species. Right? So it's these in-between species that help to move a system along. So in ecology, in succession, it goes from bare rock to then old growth forest. And that's basically the cycle. And in between that, bare rock, desert kind of thing. Desert defined by lack of water. So ice, Antarctica is a desert. It doesn't have available water, so it's a desert. So it goes from that kind of extreme to then full old growth forest and everything in between. Grassland, meadow, savanna, open forest, closed forest, old growth forest. And then, so nature is in a constant movement to forest. Just disturbances happen, drought happens.